You're very welcome to this, the launch of the Cavan Town Council Estate Grant and Awards 2012. You'll be aware that this is the first time we've had an actual launch for the competition, so you're all very welcome here to the Town Hall tonight. To start off, I'm just going to ask the Mayor, Paddy O'Reilly, just to say a few words, and then I'll take you through the changes in this year's competition and the new application form and the new judging criteria that we've in place for this year as well. So I'll just hand over to the Mayor first.
Thanks, Brian. Councillors, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just going to say a few brief words just to join with Brian. First of all, I'm welcoming you all here this evening, a cold, wet evening. It's great to see such numbers turning out here for this, the launch of the Estate Enhancement Awards for 2012. I want to compliment you all on the effort that was put in last year. It was really tremendous, and it's only when you drive through the different estates around the town and the streets and that you really appreciate the amount of work that has been put into it. So this is a new initiative here tonight, officially launching the scheme for this year. Now that spring is in the air and the longer bright evenings coming in and people can get out and start working. Just before I conclude, as Brian has said, we hope to Brian will explain the changes in the format for this year's entry and that. And then we will have a question and answer session. And just before I conclude then, I just want to thank Malachy Byrne here for providing the amplification here for tonight's presentation. Thanks, Malachy. I think you're in the hall there somewhere. So without any further ado now, I'll hand you over to Brian to go in more detail on the scheme itself. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Paddy. Okay, as Paddy said there, that the competition for this year is slightly different from previous years. So what we're going to do now is to talk you through the changes that we're introducing for this year. And as the Mayor then said, to answer any questions you might have then at the end. Though sometimes these things is more questions than answers, but we'll certainly try and answer them tonight for you as best we can. So this is what we're going to do for this evening. First of all, we're just going to go through why we're having the launch. We're going to look back very briefly at what happened in the Estate Awards between 2005 and 2011. And then we're going to focus on what's new in 2012 and why these changes are being introduced. We'll then look at the new application form and how to fill it in. We'll give you the key dates that you need to know this year in terms of the deadline to get your application in and when you can expect to receive notification of your grants. And we'll then look at how this all fits in with the Tidy Towns competition, because whether you realise it or not, this actually plays a hugely significant role in the town's application to the National Tidy Towns competition. And partly why we're making these changes is to try and build on that and to get the maximum benefit across the other categories in the competition. And then, as we said then, there'll be an opportunity for questions and answers at the end, and we'll also have the draw for the Cavan Tidy Town packs as well, which we'll do before the night is out. So, first of all, the purpose of the launch tonight, it's to provide you with the information on the changes in the 2012 scheme. It's also to provide an opportunity for interaction between the estate groups. Probably before now, it's only at the awards night in October when all the groups come together, which is at the end of the summer. Whereas now you have an opportunity to come together tonight at the start of the year, talk about your own estates, maybe exchange ideas about what you're planning to do, but maybe not give away your secrets, because it is a competition at the end of the day as well. And as I said then as well, also look at the role of the scheme in the Tidy Towns competition. So they're the main things we're going to cover in tonight's presentation. Looking back initially at the scheme since 2005, and I just apologise, the last letter has disappeared off the presentation since 5 o'clock this evening. If anyone can find it, you might return it back to us. This initiative was started back in 2005, and you can see there that initially there was only 19 local authority estates that took part. There was 3 prizes given out that year, and the total between the grants and the awards was €8,000. In 2007, there was the next significant development in the initiative when it was opened up to all the estates in the Cavan Town and environs area. There were 30 applicants that year, 10 awards given out, and the amount paid out in terms of grants and awards was up to €18,000. And 2011 was a record year for the competition. There was 56 estates took part in total, which is not every estate, but it's almost every estate in the town area. We had 14 prizes that we gave out here last October, and the total between the grants that were awarded and the prizes given out came to €25,000. So it's a significant investment on behalf of Cavan Town Council in providing local residents groups with finance to carry out improvement works in the areas where you live, because at the end of the day, it's where you live, and that's important. So now, what is new for 2012? It's a new approach in many ways. There's a new application form. There's a new judging scheme. We're also, for the first time, actually going to be making a DVD of the whole process as well, with thanks to a group from the Cavan Institute who are with us here tonight and who will track progress over the summer months and also be here at the awards night to record the awards being given out. And then that DVD will be put up on our website so that people can look back and can see what happened with it. You would also have received, when you checked in this evening, an information pack. Now that pack is very, very important, and it contains a lot of information which you will need as you set about preparing the plans for your estates in the next couple of weeks. We'll just go through that briefly in a moment. And again, as I said before, what's also new this year is to emphasise that link with the National Tidy Towns competition and the Towns application in that. So why are we making these changes? As you probably know from your own experience of the competition, every year we've added something new to it or made some kind of difference to it to keep it fresh and to keep it as interactive, to encourage more people to participate in it, and to keep generating new ideas and new initiatives from the various estates in the town. And what we always try to do is challenge you to be as creative as you can in making your applications, in making your plans, and carrying out the different works that you do on your areas. Because at the end of the day, every estate is different, every street is different. And there'll be unique characteristics, unique features, and that's what's come through in the applications over the last couple of years. We want to align it more closely with the Tidy Towns application, and you'll see that when we look at the new judging scheme as well. But also to continue to encourage communities to work together to improve their estates. I don't know if we've ever said this publicly before, but about 4 years ago we had one particular area in town where we were having an awful lot of complaints. Disputes between neighbours, different things like that. With a bit of help from Marty, that particular estate committee, I won't say where it was, sat down together, came up with a plan for the estate, and has won an award in each of the last 3 years of the competition, and we've had no complaints from that estate. So that's just a sign of how important this whole process is. When you sit down, work together, you can actually eliminate a lot of the differences that were there before. And certainly from our point of view, it's been hugely beneficial in that regard. Now, the application form for 2012. It is in the information pack that you have there. I'll just see if I can bring it up on screen here as well. You can have a look at it. Now, it does look for a little bit more detail than previous years, and again, you have to just the screen isn't exactly straight there. In essence, what we're doing here is we're actually looking for the same kind of information as last year. The part one of the form is just your contact details, the estate that you're from, what category you're entering in the competition, contact phone number, email address, and that the application is signed and dated. The second part of the application form deals with your works programme for 2012. Now what we've done there is that we've just left it as a blank page to allow you the freedom to come up with plans that are specific to your estate. When we move on to look at the judging criteria for the year ahead, you'll see where that can influence what you decide to do, but we don't want to be too prescriptive. We want to leave it very much up to you to decide what best suits your area and what can you achieve together in the current year. Part 3 of the application then deals with the actual grant application itself. It's a budget. How much is your proposed works going to cost? Have you any other sources of funding, and what's the total amount of grant that you're applying for? And then Special 4 deals with the special categories in the competition. So again, what we'll be asking you to do here is to nominate special categories yourselves for this year's competition. and we'll probably shortlist those come the awards night in September. So that maybe there's 2 or 3 in each category which are shortlisted for the awards on the night. Now, at the back of the application form is the actual marking scheme for 2012, and this is where it is different, and this is where it's more closely aligned with the National Tidy Towns competition. And you'll see that even more clearly when I show you the town's progress in the competition in the last couple of years. There are 10 categories that you will be judged on in the current year, and you see there are the maximum points available under each category. So, for example, number 1 is evidence of community or youth involvement, and the maximum points available in that heading is 8 points. For litter control and tidiness, the maximum is 12 points. For waste minimisation, 12 points. For the estate entrance and back areas within the estate, 10 points. For landscaping works, 12. For wildlife, natural amenity and heritage, 12. For value for money, 8. Individual houses and gardens, 10. National Spring Clean Week, which is 8 points, but you see there the 4 and 4. Every estate or street committee that registers for National Spring Clean Week will automatically get 4 points. And one of our objectives is to increase the number of estates participating in Spring Clean Week. Once you've registered for Spring Clean Week, you can get an extra maximum of 4 points by demonstrating the activities that you actually held during Spring Clean Week itself. So by just registering for Spring Clean Week, you get 4 points straight away. So it's a handy 4 points to pick up in the competition. And then the final one is the general impression from the judges on the day when they came to visit, which is kind of everything combined together. What was their overall impression of the area when they came in to visit? And you see there the total points available is 100 points. Now, that's the marking scheme the judges will be using. I'll just show you the actual judges' report, which we filled in as well, which we will be making available to you at the end of this year's competition, so you'll have it then looking forward into next year as well. So again, you see the list of the categories which are being marked. You'll also then see on the second page of the judges' sheet, for each category there's a space for the adjudicator's comments, so you'll be getting more detailed feedback than what you would have got previously. Whether it's particular praise for something that was done, or highlighting something which maybe wasn't done, or suggesting something that could be done. And then also then the judges' marks for the special categories which will have been nominated and which will be shortlisted for the awards night in September. Okay. Now, when you come to fill in your application form, these are the main things that you need to consider when you're doing that. Now, as I said, it's really very similar to what you would have done before, but we're just asking you to take into account these other headings that we're giving you some guidance on. Well, again, without us being prescriptive, we're not saying you have to do A, B, C and D. We're saying we'd like to consider what you are doing that might fit in with A, B, C and D for the Tidy Towns competition. So what you should consider, well, first and foremost, what will enhance your area? Because what will work in one area will not necessarily work in another area. So look within your own estate and say, what can we do that will improve our estate? Consider what's achievable. We were fortunate enough during our annual budget preparations that the elected members were in a position that the actual funding for the scheme was unchanged from 2011. There were other areas where there was a lot of cutbacks in the budget, but this was one area that we felt was particularly important. So the funding has remained unchanged. It is €25,000 in total. We'd love to be in a position that we're giving you all €25,000 because I'm sure there's no end to work that you could do with that kind of money available. But there is limited funding available for it, as there has been in previous years. So again, let's look and see what is achievable within the budget that you have and within the work that you can actually do yourselves within the estate. Also, we'd like you to take into account what can you do that will have a positive long-term impact on your estate and your community. Now that is linked in with the value for money criteria. You could easily spend a lot of money on particular types of summer flowers which only last the summer and then they're gone and there's no long-term benefit for them. Where there are other types of plants, trees, bushes, whatever that you can plant or sow, which will have a much longer impact and a much longer benefit which would also be very cost effective as well. Can you reuse material? And this is one of the things which actually influences to alter the competition slightly, the application form slightly. And again, it's linking in with the Tidy Towns competition as well. There is a category in the Tidy Towns competition called waste minimisation. And it's one where we would say that we need to improve on if we want to be in a position where we're actually challenging for either a regional or a national award in the competition. And we became aware last year that there is work going on in each of the estates which is reusing material, which is recycling, which is preventing waste in the first place, which we're not capturing. And because we're not capturing it, we're not including it in the Tidy Towns application, and we're losing out in that regard. So for example, in one particular estate, I think there was an area that was dug out for a shrubbery or planting of some description, and a neighbouring estate used the clay that had been dug out for planter pots. That's waste minimisation. We never included that in our application form before. We'll be able to include that in this year's application. So it's really to think about what are we doing, are the things that we can reuse, that we can recycle, and giving us that information that we can include that in the Tidy Towns application as well. There is the new marking scheme which you've seen. You will need to consider that in making your application. Be creative, absolutely. As I said, we don't want to be prescriptive in what you do. We want, you live in the estate that you live in, and we want you to come up with ideas and with plans and with projects which are suitable for your estate that you can enjoy and you get the benefit from. And then most importantly, recording your activities. What we would be asking everyone to do maybe towards the end of the year, come the awards night in September, is to prepare a very brief summary report of your activities for the year that we can have at the awards night, maybe put up on display with your poster displays that you have as well, that people can come in and actually read, well, Kilnavar did this, Highfield Road did that. So it'll supplement the picture displays that we have as well, just a simple one page, this is our plan for the year, this is what we did. Now, key dates for 2012. Obviously tonight, the first one, the launch of the competition. The next one is the closing date for applications, which is the 9th of March, which I think is about 5 weeks' time away. Notification of the grants, we're saying, will be out to you by the 6th of April. The estate judging will take place during July and August. I'm not going to tell you exactly when it takes place, that wouldn't be fair. And then the awards night, as always, will be the 2nd or 3rd week in October. Now, if I could just mention very, very importantly here in relation to the closing date for applications, because in previous years we would have accepted applications after the closing date. Very important this year that applications come in on the closing date, because we have a very tight turnaround to assess all the applications and actually get those decisions out to you by the 6th of April to allow you to go about your work for the summer. If an application comes in late, chances are that we would have already made a decision on the level of grant funding being made available, and we may not be able to consider an application that comes in late. So bear in mind, 9th of March, which is a Friday, is the closing date. Now, how does this fit in with the National Tidy Towns competition? Where are we going with this? Well, first of all, it fits in with the Tidy Towns entry form and the adjudicator's report. In the Tidy Towns application form, there's a specific category for residential areas. And for the last 5 years, 6 years, or since 2005, the work plans and work programs that you have put together for your own estates have all gone in under residential categories. Now, as I've already mentioned, there are works that are taking place within your estate which could also go into other categories. For example, the waste minimisation, wildlife and natural amenity, which will hopefully, which is what we want to do, try and increase our marks in those other categories as well. So that's why we've slightly altered the application and also the judging for it, because we know that you are doing things which will help the town in the Tidy Towns application process. And certainly it can add value to those other categories for us. The last line there is one which I've taken from the Cavan Tidy Towns pack itself, was that local groups can greatly improve the sense of community, quality of people's lives and local environments. And I think hopefully that you'll have all seen that from your own participation in the Estate Awards over the last couple of years. And I know from talking to Marty and to Bernadette, when they're going around doing the judging, they see the work that's going on in the estate, and it's great to see people out together in the evenings, whether it's doing some planting, doing cleanups, whatever it is. It's great to see that work taking place, because it really does create a sense of community within a particular area, and also competition with the estate next door to you as well. Now, these are the assessment areas in the Tidy Towns competition. Now you'll see how they're similar to what we're doing this year for the Estate Awards competition. They look at the overall developed approach to the town, the built environment, landscaping, which is one of the conditions of the estate grants this year, wildlife and natural amenities, litter control and tidiness, waste minimisation, residential areas, road streets and back areas, and then the general impression. So you can see there that there's a number of categories which are very similar or the same, which will feed into the National Tidy Towns competition as well this year. Now, just before we get to the questions, answers and feedbacks, in the information packs that you collected this evening, there's a couple of other pieces of information in there as well. For example, there's a printout on planting trees and shrubs. There's also guidance notes on completing the application form for this year's competition, which again, I'll bring it up on screen here so everyone can have a look at it. And this is something which we haven't done before either. We've just given you an application form and told you, here you go, fill this in and give it back into us. What we're hoping to do this year is to give you a better indication of exactly what it is that we're looking for, and hopefully give you some information that will help you and assist you in making your application this year. So, if we just skip down to page 2 of the guidance notes, one of the new judging criteria for this year is evidence of community and or youth involvement. So what we're looking for example, in that area would be how many people are involved in your commission or in your street group. What level of voluntary commitment or voluntary activity is there from people? So are there meetings taking place? Do people go out for 2 hours every Saturday? Is it an hour every Sunday? What's actually happening in the area? And then if there's any specific details of community or youth activities in your estate. They're the kind of things that we're looking for from you to get marks for evidence of community and youth involvement in the estate. Also, if you look at the area of litter control and tidiness, again, they're not prescriptive. These are the kind of things that we're looking at, that we get the information from you that we can assess the applications that are being done. We'll look at the general level of tidiness in an area, evidence of participation in National Spring Clean Week, and remember, by just registering for the competition you automatically get 4 points. You can pick up to another 4 points depending on the activities that you run during the week. Control of weed growth, the absence of litter and dumping in the estate, evidence of planned activities or clean-up days, and absence of graffiti. For the category for the area of waste minimisation, evidence of segregation of litter in clean-ups. And again, I think there was one estate about 2 years ago when they did a clean-up. They had about 14 or 15 bags that were taken away to the landfill, and when they did it the following year they had 1, because they segregated the waste out and they were able to recycle an awful lot of what was in it. Again, we didn't know that till the end of the competition, so we didn't get to include that in our Tidy Towns for that particular year. Educational, you have to excuse the typos on this, I'm afraid. Educational and increasing awareness of importance of recycling, and evidence of prevention of waste being generated in the first instance. For estate entrances and back areas, again, the overall presentation of the estate, the presentation of laneways or streets in the area, boundary walls and fences around people's properties. For landscaping, we're looking for examples of the appropriate selection of trees, shrubs and flowers. And again, we've given you some information in your pack there to say that we'll give you advice on that. The extent to which planting creates a year-round effect. Again, as I said earlier on, you can spend a lot of money on very nice plants which last for 2 or 3 months during the summer, and then they're gone, and your money is gone, and you've nothing left to show for it. So what can you do that can create this year-round effect, that there's always some kind of growth or colour or life in the area? Wildlife, natural amenity and heritage audits. What we mean here is, have you or your group ever sat down and said, well, what wildlife do we have in the area? What have we seen? What kind of birds have we seen? Are there particular kind of butterflies that we see in the area? There's other kind of wildlife that will be around from time to time as well. Maybe don't include that in the audit. And then also education and awareness of wildlife, natural amenity and heritage. And you can link this in with the whole idea about education and awareness as well. So this might be an opportunity to involve some of the younger kids in the area, to get them out looking at the different types of wildlife that there is, and get them to help document and let them do some of the research for you on it. Value for money, again, particularly important. We will be looking for evidence that you've got the maximum benefit from the money you've spent. So again, thinking long term. Is there a long term benefit for the area and for the people who live there? And the long term impact of that. Individuals, which has always been an important part of the competition. The overall presentation of houses and gardens, the maintenance of the houses and gardens, and evidence of appropriate garden planting. So they're the general things that we'll be looking for when we're looking at those areas. I've mentioned National Spring Clean Week already in terms of the extra points available. The number of people who participate in it will be good to know. And then evidence of segregation of litter. And then what promotional work have you done during Spring Clean Week itself? And then finally, the overall general impression, the overall view of the area when the judges come around, the level of community involvement in your activities, evidence of innovative ideas, and evidence of good estate planning and appropriate landscaping, location of seats or benches, or whatever you're putting into your estate and into your area. So they're the guidance notes, and they're in your information pack. I think at the registration, some of you would have left us email addresses. If you want, you can contact us and we can email this information out to you again if you need further copies of it. So, all of which brings us back to our slideshow. I'm kind of conscious that there's a lot of information been put out there to you tonight. We are allowing about a 5-week period for you to work out your plans and to get them back into us. If at any point during that time you want to come in and talk to us and get maybe a better idea of exactly what it is we're looking for, or if a particular idea is in keeping with what we're trying to do, please come in and talk to us. We will be trying to help and assist you as much as we can. And that really is all I have to say for the moment anyway. No doubt there are 1 or 2 questions around the room. So if people have questions, we'll try and answer them for you now.